Welcome back to Get in the Cash Flow Game with K&K, where we talk about investing in real estate, cash flow, building wealth, and all the lessons we learned along the way. And if you can, do me a huge favor, please like and subscribe this podcast, share it with your friends and family. That way we can continue to bring you value every week and get bigger and better guests on the show. We've been working on this for the past few months. You know we always want to bring as much value as we possibly can, and our partner, Prime Corporate Services, is all about bringing you a service you can't get anywhere else at a price you can't get anywhere else. Whether you're new to owning a business or owning a property, or you're an experienced property owner or investor, Prime Corporate Services is not only going to help you, but they're going to make the process so much easier. So if you book a call, the first thing they're going to do for you is help you understand what your business structure should look like, your corporate structure, tax planning, estate planning, all of that. Maybe you're saying, I'm brand new to starting a business and all this sounds foreign and complicated. Remember, this company helps new people just getting started every day. They're going to help you form the entity that's best for you and walk you through the process. Before I found this company, we paid thousands of dollars to other attorneys, CPAs, and consultants to try to understand exactly how we need to be structured to be as protected as possible. We've also gone the other route and used online platforms to form entities which unnecessarily put us at risk. You guys, you don't have to do that with this company. They'll do all of these things for you at a reasonable price, so you never have to think about saving money at the expense of exposing yourself to liability. We've searched high and low, and you will not find this much value anywhere else. All you have to do is schedule a free call today. Just go to primecorporateservices.info/GITCG. Once again, that's primecorporateservices.info/GITCG. We'll also leave the info for you in the show notes.
All right. K&K are back at it.
That's right.
Boy, Krystle's over here. I don't know. She's ready. She is fired up.
Got my sleeves rolled up and everything.
She's at her protein bar. We are filming. This is March, I think, 15th, 2023. Why am I saying that date? Because shit is crazy out there. Holy smokes. I mean, just when we're dealing with a jobs report and inflation and there's no inventory and everybody's freaking out about a recession. Oh, and here comes, we thought we were going to get hit by an atomic bomb from Russia. How about it's right up there in San Francisco? It's called SVB. Silicon Valley bomb. That's what happened. Boom, got dropped on us.
Wow, drama for the drama queen. I love this.
Dude, it's like, it's crazy. So anyways, guys, obviously we needed to jump on here. We haven't done a solo in a while, but Krystle and I were having, we've been actually doing some interviews, talking to a couple reporters, talking to our PR, getting a lot of calls, texts. I've been getting like people just like, oh my God, what about my stock account? What's this? I'm like, what? So, let's just back the train up here. First of all, guys, this is where I'll go back to this, and I know Krystle's going to jump in here. Spend time on what in the world is going on with your finances. Where's your 401k? Where's the money at? Where's your IRA? Where's the money at? Where's your checking account at? Do you know what your bank's account? Do you know what's going on with your stuff? When people don't know anything, that's why they panic. Krystle and I didn't get panicked. We do bank with several banks. But I'll just tell you, we took advantage of this opportunity. We were like, well, one of the banks, First Republic Bank, we're like, well, we have money there. And that stock took a shit dive. And I was like, Krystle, we're buying it. She's like, okay. People are like, there's articles, it's going to go under this and that. I'm like, well, we believe in the bank. We know the bank. We know what they're doing. And I'm like, yeah, we bought their stock because I'm like, I think this is going to be an opportunity. So that's because we knew what was going on. So Krystle, I want to jump in because we're talking, a lot of people are talking about the bank and the depositors and all this, but it kind of brought us back to 2008, right?
For sure.
And I think what we were talking about, reporters were like, you know what, guys, depositors are fine. That's already done. Why even talk about it? What we're more concerned about is Krystle was even saying, like, I don't know the number, but it's crazy of how many small banks we lost in like 2008 till whatever. And for you guys that are listening to this or whatever, small banks are the bloodline of small businesses, small and real estate investors and all this stuff. And without those, that's a problem. And those guys are getting they're getting the bad rap right now. I don't like it because I don't think it's fair.
I don't think small banks are really getting a bad rap, but what's happening is the fact that Silicon Valley Bank was considered a smaller bank. It was still actually a pretty decent sized bank, but Silicon Valley Bank caused this panic in the market. So what's happening is people don't feel like their money is safe in the bank, especially with these smaller institutions. And so therefore, they're taking their money out of the small institutions and moving them to larger banks and probably spreading the money around. So if you've got, let's say that you've got $1 million, you probably took your $1 million, or at least 750,000 of it, out of a smaller bank and spread it to 3 other banks. So what's happening is it's perpetuating an issue with small banks because they're losing a ton of deposits, even though the Fed basically came in and said that they were going to basically cover the deposits at Silicon Valley Bank. Because they said they were going to come in and cover these deposits, it doesn't mean that people didn't panic. People already panicked. I talked to one of my bankers on Monday. He had a client who had $1.3 million in the bank with another small bank, I don't need to name, but he went to go get his money out of the bank on Saturday morning, and he was met with a line of 20 people out the door doing the same thing. 20 people doesn't sound like a lot to move a market, but if there's 20 people lined up at every single small regional bank just on one day alone, which was Saturday when they're open maybe half day until noon, what do you think is happening? So now, because these small regional banks are losing the deposits, or losing a significant amount of deposits and at a rapid pace, that's going to take away their ability to lend money, which is what small businesses need. Small businesses need loans for their business, to cover payroll, to expand, to grow. Small regional banks are doing deals that the big banks won't do because they're in the neighborhood. They know the people, they know the areas down to the street and the block and all these things. So they're not going to be able to do loans. So I anticipate that over the next 30 days or so, we're going to see a big shift in banking because a lot of these small banks are not going to have the deposits to do more lending.
Yeah, I was showing Krystle as I rudely interrupted her, but I was like 565 since 2008 of bank failures. And probably most of them are small.
And now if you were to look up how many small regional banks have opened since that time.
Let's look. Let's see.
It's a very small number.
Okay, let me look it up. They say there's 2,200 community banks, but...
Yeah, how many were there after 2008, and how many are there today?
It's not really saying in here.
Well, I can tell you from somebody that we know in common that used to work with a lot of small regional banks. Their business was built on that 80% of the banks went away during the crash, and maybe over the next 5 years, maybe 5 more banks opened up, regional. So
yeah, this thing's saying 146. Yeah, I don't really have that data.
So you're telling me that there were 2,200 banks and 146 opened up nationwide?
No, they said every year. But remember, I think that's big banks and all that. Like Chase could have had their footprint open. So we don't know the small regional. We need to find that number, but I'm trying to find that.
That would be interesting data to have, just because, like I said, this is hearsay. This is not fact based. That I know of. This person that I do know is very reliable with data, and they had a very successful business that was built on lending with small regional banks. And when the 2008 crash happened, like 80 or 90% of their business went away pretty much overnight. And then they never really got that business back over the next like 5 years. There weren't even like enough new banks opening for them to continue doing business. So basically they ended up shutting down the business and getting into a completely different industry. So Krystle,
like people are saying, the comment I'm kind of hearing, let's just say by CNBC, and a lot of people they're concerned. They're saying, well, not even the liquidity's out, but they're also saying is banks have to now raise liquidity. So they could go to the government. They could just say, well, whatever they do that, however they're going to do it. But they're saying is, well, if they're going to have to stack more cash, they're going to have to do less loans.
Yeah.
Well, they're already doing less loans.
Yeah. That's what I just said.
They're doing, your industry, just take your industry. You guys are down 50, 60. It's crazy.
We're down 50 or
60%.
We're probably down more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say 70, 80%.
Yeah. So my point, guys, is Krystle's industry is down 70, 80%. I don't know. It's like a lot lower. It's slow.
It's
like
steep.
Refis, residential refis are down 85%. Purchases are down 50%. In ours, we're way bigger, right? There's more transactions. So if you're down 70 and you cut back more. And the thing is let's let's get into the weeds here. So what you guys have to understand that is not in the banking. If you took SVB or any of these small banks, people come to them, right? And maybe they'll come to Krystle, like, hey, Krystle, I've got this weird building, this weird property, whatever. And you're like, hey, I can get that deal done, but you're gonna have to put your money in the bank and start a relationship, and that's what they like, but they'll do this for you, right? And so people went to SVB and these small banks, and they go all in, they put their money in. People are like, who keeps all their money there? Well, like, guys, they're the only ones that maybe gave them the business line or gave them the business loan or funded their winery or funded their farm or funded their startup or this. So like Krystle will tell you, like, they want all your deposits. They want you all in, and they're all in with you. It's kind of this working relationship. So when people go, that's stupid, it's like, it's not really stupid. That's just how business banking is and has been. So,
well, let's just state it. I mean, if you've been in this business for very long and you have any idea how the system works, then you kind of already know this. But basically, banks have to lend off their deposits. So they have to get deposits, which is why the majority of small regional banks require a deposit relationship in order to give you a loan, because they, in good faith, hope that they can earn your business by giving you good service and everything. Because if you deposit, the more money you deposit with them, the more money they're able to lend out. They have to, by law, keep a certain amount of money in reserve, but they basically go invest the rest of that money, whether it's to lend it out to other people or use it to buy 10-year treasuries or,
mortgage-backed securities, yeah.
Mortgage-backed securities, whatever. So they go and they invest that money, the majority of it, and then they just keep like a 10% reserve. Well, what happens in a time like this is when people are, having this flight to safety, which is basically pulling their money out of the bank. They do that at a rapid pace. And this has happened it's part of a real estate cycle, or as part of a market cycle where this happens, right? Every so often, but it's far above and beyond that 10% threshold that they're legally required to hold. So this is why a lot of smaller banks are in trouble.
Yeah, and think about it, guys. Banks hold liquidity. They make loans. But when you hear a bank go, we lost $2 billion because we had to sell things. Well, who's covering the $2 billion if they don't make $2 billion? Yep. When you hear JP Morgan Chase say, oh, we had to pay out $3 billion. Well, JP Morgan Chase might make $20 billion a year. Okay. But when you hear a smaller bank go, we had to pay out $2 billion, you're like, well, in 2022 or one or something, they made like not even $1 billion. Who's eating that? That's why when somebody goes, well, that's not good.
Yeah.
So that's the problem, is these smaller banks don't have the wherewithal to take these big hits.
Now, what I wanted to go back to something, because you were kind of onto something in the very beginning of this, which was about people taking a look at their finances and their money. So just like a couple of like actionable steps. First off, people should be looking at their money, where their money is, once a month at least. I mean, like 1 hour a month. This is all we're talking about. So if you have your money in a retirement account, if you're invested in the stock market, if your retirement is invested, you need to be looking at all of these things once a month. I mean, nobody's saying that you have to be like some kind of a day trader with your finances, but you need to be looking at your finances once a month. Look at your cash inflows, look at your cash outflows. Are there any adjustments you need to make? Even down to the stupid things like what subscriptions do I have that I haven't been paying attention to? But then on top of it, look at your retirement account. That's something that Kenny and I both do. We look at our retirement accounts, like if we have other things invested, like life insurance policies and other things like this, we're looking at
stocks are like on my phone. I can just look and go, hey, I can tell you, I know what I bought it, where it's at. It's like I can look at it every day.
Exactly.
Krystle, I think it's like 70% or 50, whatever the number is, couldn't even tell you who their financial advisor is. Couldn't even tell you the last time I look at my statement. They don't even know what's in the statement.
Exactly. So my point is that you want to get involved in your financial well-being if you haven't already. And it literally can take you 1 hour a month. Everybody has 1 hour a month to do that. I get it. A lot of people don't look at it because they don't really care. It's boring. Maybe it stresses you out, like all these different things. But you need to watch your money and change your strategy accordingly. Like, so for example, if you were heavily invested in the stock market, like tech stocks, for example, if you have tech stocks, maybe at some point in the last 6 months, you said, hey, look, this industry is about to get an overhaul, like
it's been getting one.
Everything's going on sale. Maybe I should sell some of the cheapest stocks that I bought early on and sit on the sidelines and wait. Oh, wait a second. I can put it in a money market account that earns 4.5% interest while I sit here and figure out my next move.
Or T-bills.
Yeah,
short term,
buy
6
bonds,
months,
whatever.
Yeah.
So you can do all of these things. There's a lot of strategies, but the thing is that you need to have the knowledge, you need to do a little bit of research, and you need to spend a little bit of time. And when I say a little bit, like literally in the all of the hours that you have available in a month, if you could just dedicate 1 hour to that, you could really set yourself up to be successful and to not feel as much pain.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Krystle. I think a lot of people think that they have to spend 30 hours a week to be a successful real estate investor, a successful investor. That is not true. I mean, it's anything. You really don't have to be. Like, you just have to, like Krystle said, when you're spending the hour, you should know exactly what you're doing within that hour. And if you want to learn beyond that, well, take a course, get a coach, just pay attention to what's going on, right? Start finding avenues like podcasts. There's like so many smart, amazing people that have podcasts that are free. YouTube channels, free. You could sign up for people's like email lists and stuff for like $50 a month that give you unbelievable breakdown of stocks or what they're doing, like people that are successful. Like, it's cheap. You're like, why are they doing $50? That's nothing. I'm like, well, because they have, a lot of subscribers, they make money out. But the point is that it's pretty much free to get the data. So if you want to know, well, what would I invest in this and that? Because people just relying on other people, which I realize we've done stuff where you rely on other people's stuff, it hasn't really worked out in our favor that well.
And now what's happened though too is that you can have access to what billionaires are doing with their money in markets like this just by subscribing to someone's, weekly newsletter or whatever, because they paid the $100,000 or $150,000 or $200,000 to go sit in a room with, these billionaires and figure out what their strategies are, where they see the market going, what they're seeing.
Sounds like you know somebody.
I do. And so it's like, these are the kinds of things where you want to understand the strategies of the wealthy, because there are certain things that are just not very talked about. Like, for example, now we know that many of the wealthy people, when you're in a market like this, they start buying bonds, right? So they start investing and they stagger them, so that way they don't have their money tied up for very long. So they put a little bit of money in, maybe 6-month bonds and then 12-month and then this and that. So there are strategies out there. You just need to go and find them, take an interest in your money, take an interest in growing your money. And also, instead of feeding into the panic, because like we were talking about, everybody was panicking on Monday about, SVB and this bank crisis. We were honestly nuts. Like, it was crazy. It was a crazy
day. We weren't
day.
Panicking. We were just dealing with
but
the
we
panic.
were getting all of the phone calls, like from our bankers, from our clients. What do we do? I'm worried what's going to happen to my loan with this bank if they go under, and like all these things. But at the same time, we thought, there's an opportunity here. Bank stocks are on sale. We're in the industry. So of course we have insight that maybe somebody else wouldn't. Let's take advantage of this opportunity to make a few bucks, especially when business is down. Why not? So this is what you should be doing, is looking for those opportunities and spending that time instead of just feeding into the drama. Like, I looked on social media, every single person who posted anything about SVB, the bank collapse, literally had like 500 comments when they usually have like, 50 comments. So this just goes to tell you the kind of energy that people, like the general public, is putting into this news. But how much effort are you putting into taking advantage of opportunities when they strike?
Somebody had a good point on CNBC. They said, smart guy, I can't remember his name. They said, social media and Twitter and all this, literally, I'm not saying it caused the collapse of SVP, but it like basically so much attention got to it that literally so fast the government's like, we need to shut this thing down. And that's why they came in and did that, because they're like, this thing is going viral, so you better get your money in banks. It went viral because nobody knows what they're talking about. And so the government had to come in literally because of the media. Well, maybe they should do next time is just turn off all of our social media accounts, just be like, and shut it all off. Imagine, like, we can't communicate. Oh my gosh. Could you imagine? That'd be crazy.
Yeah. And this is also what's perpetuating this issue with the people basically taking their cash out of the bank, like this knee-jerk reaction to like move their money. And I get it. If you have a bunch of money sitting in a bank account, I understand that maybe you feel like you can't trust the banking system. I don't blame you. But at the same time, it's perpetuating the issue for these small banks. Like, basically you're stealing their lifeline, and they might not make it just from that fact alone, is like all of the people that are collectively removing their money. I was just talking to one of my hard money lenders today. He's an older gentleman. He's pretty much retired. He does not have to work, and he puts out a blog. He has really really, really good information he puts out like once a month. So next week he's publishing an article that's basically, can you trust your money and that's in the bank? And he said, Krystle, we are getting ready. There is something that's underlying that nobody is talking about. The flight to cash, there's about $500 billion that's going to be removed from the small regional banks. And in the next 30 days, our business is getting ready to change because we're going to get a whole slew of business as private money lenders because all these small banks are not going to be able to do loans anymore. So we're going to be the ones doing those loans. And right now, like hard money lenders, he even said the same. My business is not great. I'm probably doing out of every 15 deals that comes across my desk, I'm just getting a bunch of crap or, like bad deals, whatever. So our business hasn't been anything to brag about. But in the next 30 days, I guarantee you mark my word, I've been through several of these. My business is going to change.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I know who that person is. Like,
Yeah.
is it who I think it is?
Probably.
Okay. Last name starts with M?
Nope.
Oh.
H. So anyways, good old boy though, and we've known him for years, and he really takes an interest in all of this stuff and reads data and looks at all of it. And I would not put it past him to be correct, especially somebody who's been through, 4 cycles or so.
Wow. No, they did say that they said the regional banks are going to get slaughtered here, which sucks. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think people are going to realize that this probably will result in a quick recession faster than we were going to get there.
Well, we've already been talking about this. I forget where we were talking about this, but I was listening to that the Rate Guy podcast, which I really love, and he had a really interesting stat, which was the fact that the treasuries have been inverted for going on 1 year. Like in the next 2 weeks, it will have been 1 year with the treasuries inverted. And so what that signals and has signaled in the past is that this is going to be a deeper and longer recession than the soft landing that they've been selling us for the last year or two. So this is already a sign that this will be a deeper, longer recession. Now, it's going to affect everyone differently. So that is the other thing that I've been hearing. This is what the wealthy people are talking about, that there's going to be like inflation in some areas and deflation in others. So certain industries are not going to be hurt as much. It seems certainly like it's tech's turn this time.
Crypto, tech, yeah.
Exactly. So real estate, yes, there are going to be ripple effects throughout the industry that are going to hurt ours too. And absolutely business is way down because of interest rates. But we're not even getting hurt as much as tech. So each industry is going to be affected differently, some more than others, but it's going to be pain for a lot of us. Yeah,
because even if rates come down for tech, the problem is that evaluations have gotten beat down from the startups so bad. We're talking 80, 90% less valuations than a couple of years ago. Nobody's going to want to give money. They're going to have to get hard money, and you lose a place like SVB and stuff. So our business, rates come down, people will start moving and doing stuff. That's just natural because, look, real estate investors, let's leave you with this. Most of y'all don't keep money in the bank. You keep money in their properties and they're just cash flowing and the rents are going up and you love it. So most real estate investor guys, you've heard the Grant Cardones and all these guys, they're like, why would I put in the bank when I can deploy it and make that equity, make that cash flow, get the tax benefit? So I'm telling you right now, like, yeah, a lot more people or they're sitting on the side. Real estate investors are waiting to invest. They're like, please, there's like a tsunami of money coming in. The rates don't make sense. The sellers don't make sense. The financing doesn't make sense. Yep. Like, so, and it's all like, look, there's people, the biggest builders out there, they're building what they have. They've got dirt shovel ready. They're like, why would I go build a building, office, hotel when it's 9-10% and it's 65% loan to cost? Krystle will tell you it's absolute garbage. We're talking the best of the best, when they would usually get probably what, Krystle, for a loan to cost? The best of the best.
The best of the best are probably getting anywhere from like 75 to sometimes 90%.
Okay, so let's just say they're getting at least 80, 85, and we're talking interest rates prior to that, 3s to 4s. So you're talking way less leverage. So I got to go get more money, and then I'm going to get slaughtered. Think about it. They got a $100 million loan at 9-10%, and they got to run it out there for 4 years in a city like that's a nightmare to get through. I mean, they're just like, this is stupid.
Yeah, construction, it's not going to help the inventory problem because construction's coming to a halt. I've already talked to multiple developers even now that are just kind of sitting on the sidelines waiting to see what happens because they don't want to build when money is so expensive. Because the thing is already as it is, when you're a developer, as you know, there are cost overruns, things come up that you don't anticipate. And so this additional cost of interest, the additional interest that you're paying is really eating into that buffer that you have, that like kind of pad that you have for your project. Should, the cost of lumber go up, or the cost of steel goes up, or the city comes back to you with some crazy thing that you have to change and it costs you an extra couple. Yeah. So all these things that pop up, like basically your margin for error is that much smaller. So development is pretty much coming to a standstill.
Yeah. I was actually, right before we shot this, I was shooting my Date Over Drama webinar. It's so good, but that one's not going live. This is for media, but I was very intense and dramatic in it because I need to.
Weird. You?
I know, but the point is that the houses that are being built, the new ones, like Krystle said, they're just not going to build. So, and then when they turn the spigot on and start building again, remember, if rates come down, that still might not motivate them to build because a recession's coming. So even when they go, cool, we're going to start building again. We're not talking about California. We're talking about another state. You're probably a year out in another state. Here, that development's not going to get done for 2 years. That housing's getting kicked out. Those apartment buildings are going to getting kicked out. It's not good. I mean, this project sits right across here in Mission Valley from us. I'm guessing they're going to build it, but I mean, are they going to build it at 9-10% and leverage? I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is crazy.
Well, the good news is they're years out. So probably by the time they're ready to start building, the economy will be turning around. But for example, I just talked to a client yesterday who's building, who has permits to build 175 units here in San Diego. And he's holding off on financing for now. So like there's people like this, and these people, you think, oh, no big deal. Well, guess what? They have carrying costs, so you still have to pay for property taxes and insurance on that land. That land is entitled. You sunk all this money into architectural fees and engineering and, environmental and city fees and all this kind of stuff just to get here. And then you probably have a loan against the land that you have to debt service every month. So you basically have to figure out how you're going to get through this wave for the next few years. So this is a really big hit to builders again. So, I mean, they're kind of used to it if you've been in the industry for any amount of time, but timing the market is so tough. So right now, anything that they were going to start building is getting pushed to the side. They want to get started, but it's so expensive. And also, not to mention, they're scared that the bank's not going to continue funding them. So you could go get a construction loan, and the bank could go bust, and you might not get your draws. So
if the bank goes bust, they will most likely can your construction loan. And that really put a lot of people.
So now one of the questions that clients had for me this week is my loan safe? Like what if the bank goes under, is my loan safe? So we've spent a lot of time talking to our bankers. I already pretty much knew the answer to this, but obviously I love to double check, and nothing would be worse than me assuming that I know what I'm talking about and then, for it to be different. So we called a bunch of our banks. Hey, clients are having these issues. They're having these concerns. And, if you have a loan, like just an apartment loan, commercial loan, a regular loan with a bank, and the bank goes bust, you have a note. You are still going to be okay. The lender's not going to come call your note due. As long as you're doing your annual reporting and you're making your payments on time and all of that, you still have your loan.
And you're reporting, guys, if it's not residential, it's commercial. But so if you're like, what is that? You never heard it. It's not for you. But
yeah, if you have 5+ units or anything commercial, you have to worry about annual reporting. It's super easy. It's basically sending your financials every year for the property.
This is not the time to cut the corners and not do it.
No, and this is
do what you need to do.
This is an FDIC requirement. So banks get audited by the FDIC, and if they if they find that you haven't sent your annual reporting, they get in trouble. So that is why they will sometimes put a default rate in there if you don't send your annual reporting. They could call the note if you don't comply. So you definitely want to make sure that you do this, because this is an audit requirement for them. It's not just the banks wanting to be a pain.
And if they've been lackadaisic, that might change.
Well, in 2008, they were lackadaisic, which is why they do it now, because I still have clients call that get so irritated. They want my paperwork. And I'm like, yeah, it's not them. It's the FDIC. They get audited. So anyways, you have to do that. Now, before we wrap it up, Kenny, there's so much talk about like what opportunities are out there in the market and what we're seeing for opportunity. What industry, I want to ask the opposite question. What industries do you see on the horizon, like in the real estate space, that are going to have more problems? Like what is something that's maybe been hot or been really desirable that you think is going to change in the future?
Well, one thing, hate to say it, but it's out there, is Here's the thing. So Krystle knows this. We kind of learned this as when we got acquired by Mind. And Doug kind of told us, like, that was in 2018. He says, guys, in the last 2 years, from 16 to 18 or something, that 90% of the data got collected in the last 2 years. You're like, wait a minute, what? So what you don't know is companies like Zillow, Redfin, Google, Apple, all them. Yeah, they're technology companies, but they also have a massive, massive team that collects data all the time, right, Krystle? So my point is that we've been collecting data. And so when it comes to real estate, Fannie and Freddie are going, well, we have all this data. What can we change? So now they're saying, well, remember we done the appraisal waivers. So now they're saying that appraisal that I get, Krystle, right? They said this appraisal that's like I paid. That's not all the end all be all. There's now, I can do appraisal waivers. There's other options now because there's data. Now they're going and saying, well, do we really need title? So Fannie and Freddie, I'm not sure what they're doing. They have a test pilot, but they're saying that we might not have to have title insurance anymore because why? They probably can go into a database because they wrote a program, pull out what they need. And so when you run through the automated system, do you get an appraisal waiver? Do you get an approval? Do you get 1 year tax return? Can we just waive the title request?
It's crazy. So
that's an industry. It's going to impact. Appraisers are going to feel an impact in our industry, right? So that's saving clients money, moving the transaction faster. So I see that on the horizon. As far as opportunities, like in our industry, I think where people are crushing it is the ADU game here in San Diego. That's where I'm really seeing. But as far as that, honestly, guys, I think in San Diego.
Where do you think there's going to be more pain?
Pain? Yep. Flippers have a tough time because of the volatility.
Well, there's no deals really to do, right?
Yeah. But I would say the biggest pain is for the first time home buyer because there's no inventory and it sucks. And so as I was shooting my webinar today, that's what I was saying is people go, there's all this doom and gloom. And I go, when Krystle and I hear these articles, because I like talked about this shit so much, it's that I have so much data. Krystle knows, like, what do you think about that? It's like, well, yeah, Krystle, they say that, but they don't even know this. So when I hear articles and all this, oh, this can happen. Not that it can't happen, but I'm like, Krystle, but what about this data and that data? She goes, oh crap, I didn't know that. So I just look at, we didn't build enough. We're not going to build enough. You can't build fast enough. And we've got people that want to buy. If my biggest fear is interest rates are going to come down. Inflation is coming down. If you hit a recession, they both will come down faster. There are people that are not going to lose their jobs that want to buy a home, but there's not going to be enough homes. Because in San Diego right now, we started the year off at 3,100 and we're at like 2,300, 500 pending. And remember, that's all homes, guys. If I take $1.5 million below and take out pendings, we're probably in the 1,000 for 3 million people. So my biggest concern is rates come low and there's not going to be enough inventory. Because why do people move? Death, divorce, job, move, military, get redeployed, flight to cash, move up to another house, but you're only doing that rarely. And so, people, the average rate is 3.78 with the 95% of mortgages out of mortgages.
That's wild.
And 33% of homes are free and clear. Out of the rest, 95% of those homes are on fixed mortgages. Out of all those rates, the average rate is 3.7. 5% are ARMs. There's no negams, all this other crap. So people are locked in. Their biggest house payment is lower than ever. It is. I mean, think about it. The good thing about people is they locked in a good 30-year fixed and they're chilling.
Yeah, I think on the commercial side, you're right. Like the ADU game is the big thing right now that people are doing.
Providing housing more.
Providing more housing, getting more units. On the larger scale, I think the developers that have more money, probably the bigger opportunity is going to be converting office and hotels that are like located in not great areas for hotels.
Performing right, yeah.
And converting them to residential. It's already started. I think there's big opportunity in that, especially with the housing issue. I think that cities across California are going to be a lot more lenient about converting those uses, especially if they're not highest and best use. So I think that opportunity is there. In terms of what's going to hurt, obviously office and retail tend to have more pain. So I think Class A office has been propped up. I think it will continue. I actually, for once, think that it probably won't get hurt as bad as the like B and C office.
Certain markets like here because they want it.
Certain markets. I'm talking in San Diego at least right now. In certain markets, obviously the office market in San Francisco, for example, is decimated. New
This
York
is really
and some of these areas.
That's a good point. What's happening? There's already 30 million square feet vacant.
Yeah.
This right here could just...
People are going to be picking that stuff up for pennies on the dollar, 50 cents on the dollar,
I mean,
you know?
San Francisco is going to have this isn't good.
But they're going to have to figure out something very creative for that space because I think that the landscape of the Bay Area is obviously just going to change. But the other thing that I think is that I think we're going to see pain in is we've already seen a lot of people's Airbnbs and vacation rentals have gone way down. There's a lot more regulation that a lot of different cities are putting in. Are putting into play because of all the gurus teaching all these courses, and then everybody bought all these vacation rentals and COVID, and everybody was vacationing.
Can I just give you a little statistic?
Sure.
Since if we're in California, you guys ever heard of a place called Joshua Tree? So pre-pandemic, they had under 2,000 rentals. Apparently now they have over 5,000.
Yeah. So
crazy.
On top of that, I think the hospitality industry as a whole is going to hurt. So, you know, the hotels... the hotel industry is definitely going to get hurt because obviously people are going to stop spending and they're not going to be going on all those vacations that they were taking because they were really splurging after COVID and the whole market opened up. Let me stop you there.
Another great point. Over 300,000 plus jobs created.
Yes.
Out of the 300, over 100,000 were in travel, hospitality.
Yep.
So that's what I tell everybody. That's been the biggest job gainer.
Yes.
So when a recession hits, that is gonna fall off. That's why jobs are gonna go just with that.
So I think you see like the trend is that whenever a market gets really, really hot, and you're obviously bound to see a crash or some sort of a rebalancing. And so obviously
I've already been experiencing some of that.
Hospitality is a front runner for that just because they have created the number of they've created the most jobs, but also, like I said, people were locked up in their houses. So they splurged, they took all these vacations, they traveled, they did all the things that they were not doing during that time. And so they had just this huge rush. And so they had to hire all these people because they couldn't keep up with everything, with all the traffic and all the visitors and things like that. And now people are going to scale back and they're going to like, hey, look, I renovated my house. I'm, running out of cash. We're just going to stay home. We're going to eat at home more. We're not going to go on those vacations.
We're not going to go out to dinner. We're not going to go to the ball game. We just the list goes on.
So hospitality is, I think, the other industry that's really going to take a beating. Not anything like the pandemic, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you bought a hotel in the last few years, let's say, and you bought it at a market price, you might feel some pain.
Yeah. I was going to tell you real quick, 2015, there's about 1 million listings on Airbnb for vacation rentals. 15. Today, there's almost 7 on Airbnb.
Crazy.
And
people were doing Airbnbs in these little tiny towns that nobody really vacation in.
Like what Krystle would say, cute, fun, great. But guys, here's the problem is they bought it to say, I need to be at 80% occupancy. Some people own vacation rentals in these little towns that we know, but they're like, yeah, but I rent it out a little bit, but it's my second home, so I don't care. I make a little bit of money. That was their mentality. They're not like, these people bought it at 80. They're like, we're getting 0 or 30. So anyways, I think there's going to be opportunity. You got to pay attention. You got to be alert. Turn off the Netflix and the news and all that and go find some really, we're a source. Great. There's a lot of good sources out there to watch and learn people. And like Krystle said, an hour a week, an hour a month, something more you're doing now, it can change your life.
Absolutely.
Guys, appreciate you watching. Subscribe, share, like us, all that good stuff.
And a 5-star review wouldn't hurt.
Yeah. But please share this. We love reviews. We need more of them. We're looking forward to getting some good guests on. I'm going to be bringing an appraiser on. I'm excited to go over the ADUs and all this stuff. So a lot to talk about. Head of appraiser of a massive AMC. So it's going to be cool. So I got to wrap that up, but I'm excited for that. We'll get him on so we can talk about what's going on. And he might have some really good data around the country. So we'll know where the peaks and valleys are, and then he'll know. So I'm excited to have that. That'll be fun. So, and we're going to talk about ADUs because there is the devaluing and valuing all this. There's a lot of problems, but I had that conversation with him. So
with 1 to 4, not 5+.
Yeah. We'll get into that. So anyways, all right, guys, until next time, it's been real. Stay safe. Keep your money in the bank, not under your mattress.
Listening.
All right, bye.
If you're already a real estate investor, you know that aside from cash flow, you also get huge tax benefits by investing in real estate. But are you taking full advantage of all the potential tax benefits? We've been working with Tim Looney at CSSI for a few years now, and he's saved us and our clients hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in taxes doing cost segregation studies on their properties. Let me give you a few examples. We bought a property in 2019. If we had just used straight line depreciation, we would have saved about $18,750 in taxes. But because we did a cost seg, we saved $258,000. That's $239,350 more than standard straight line depreciation in the first year. The other great thing is, if you're classified as a real estate professional, you can apply this to other sources of income like W-2 or 1099 income, and you can also roll over any unused depreciation to future years. If you've owned your properties for a few years already, don't worry, you can still do a cost seg and save big on your taxes. This is not tax advice, so consult your CPA to see if you qualify to take advantage of these benefits. Call or text Tim at 318-469-9861 to get your complimentary property analysis. Once again, that's 318-469-9861. And I'll also include his information in the show notes. You guys don't want to miss out on these tax savings.